Welcome back to GAA Fan TV. It is the week 4 of the National Football League, the halfway point of the National Football League. We've 16 games to discuss as per usual in these previews, and today I'm joined by Seamus Brady of the Play On GAA podcast here to predict and preview this weekend's National Football League action, break the games down, discuss all the talking points, and who we think is going to win the respective games. So, Seamus, what's the story with yourself? How is things? How's life? And are you excited for another weekend of National Football League action?
Good, Aaron. Yeah, thanks for having me on again. Looking forward to this weekend, the action again. Like, as we've always said, this is the stage now where the league table has taken shape. Roscommon remarkably, going to go for a league final. Obviously, we're going to get into their game against Monaghan. Then on the flip side, you've got other teams, staring down the barrel of relegation. Like, it's become clear now who's probably going to end up where, who's battling for what. And that's what makes these games really, really interesting now, because there's added meaning to them that we didn't think would have been there before. So, yeah, really, really looking forward to getting into these.
100%. And as you said there, like the halfway stage, it's kind of mad really that we're even at this halfway stage. Like, I felt like only a couple of weeks ago really that we were previewing and predicting the league, whereas now, like, like the opening day bluffers or whatever, like that's all out of your system now. Like halfway point is here, and this is really now where teams need to start standing up, getting the points, and I suppose moving towards each of their individual goals.
No doubt. Yeah, sure. We talked about the championship structure loads of times. It's like the GAA are rushing to get through it. Like, it starts and then it's already nearly over. Like, it's one of those things where, look, the league happens really, really quickly, and it does play a much bigger role in the championship now. So teams are going hell for leather at it, picking up a lot of injuries on the way, which I think we know is another detriment to them. The likes of Damien Comer obviously being gone, Paddy McBrearty, another massive injury there for Donegal. Like, yeah, but you're absolutely right. It's coming thick and fast, and there's about 1,000,001 games to analyse at the same time. Thankfully, now we can just focus on the league. Obviously, the college competitions are over, and the pre-season competitions are not there anymore, and the club is finished as well. We can just focus on one competition at last and give breakdowns on that, rather than trying to cover 50 different things at once.
100%. And anyone who's tuning in, make sure to get your comments in live. Let us know your predictions for some of these weekend's big games, and make sure to hit the like button as always, and subscribe if people haven't already. I suppose we'll obviously start with Division 1, and we might just refresh ourselves with how the league table actually looks. So this is how the league table looks after 3 games going into match day 4. So as we see, Roscommon, interestingly enough, the only side to have won 3 games in Division 1, but the only side actually to have won more than a game as well. It's actually so even in Division 1 when you actually look at it there. But they're on top with 6 points. You've got Mayo in second with 4 points. Galway and Armagh are in joint third with 3 points. And then Kerry, Tyrone, Monaghan and Donegal all locked on 2 points. So we'll start things off with Kerry versus Armagh. Obviously, these two played each other in the league last year, which Kerry got the better of Armagh, and it has been a long time coming actually since Armagh beat Kerry in any competition of any nature. So huge game for both sides. Kerry obviously looking to get that defeat out of their system versus Mayo, and you'd probably expect David Clifford, Sean O'Shea to probably start this time around.
Yeah, that's the X factor for Kerry. I mean, we were all very impressed with Mayo's performance in the first half against Kerry, but I think the obvious thing was just how good David Clifford and Sean O'Shea made Kerry when they came on. As you said, on my podcast, it was night and day. when they were on versus when they weren't on. All of a sudden, Kerry were moving through the gears way smoother. David Clifford was taking shots that other players wouldn't even think that the shot was on there. And Clifford was not only taking them, but converting them. The first 3 shots he took at the post, he converted them all. I imagine that they will start this game, both of them, David Clifford and Sean O'Shea. And once them two are in the side, they make everyone else better. Paulie Clifford, I imagine, will get less attention because obviously David Clifford will take up the main emphasis of the Armagh defence. I imagine he'll have either Aidan Forker on him or maybe a Conor Mackin or someone like that, someone to man mark him and follow him everywhere. Sean O'Shea as well is going to need someone on him. And then maybe you'll see the likes of Donald O'Sullivan, Dara Roach performing better because there's a main threat there taking up the best Armagh defender. And yeah, so for Armagh, this game actually couldn't have come at a worse time, because if they had got Kerry at the start of the league, when Donegal got them, for example, I would actually back Armagh to go there and get the points. But the fact that Clifford is back and the fact that Shawnee is back, and not only the fact that they're back, but the fact that they look like they haven't missed a beat, either of them, I'd be putting Kerry firmly in the driving seat, honestly, to get the 2 points here. I know that I picked Armagh to do really well in the league. I picked Armagh as, my actual pick to win it because I didn't think Kerry were going to take it seriously. But actually, having seen that table there and having been refreshed of where Kerry actually are in the league, they're going to need to win this game. And I think they're going to take it very seriously, and I think they will.
Yeah, like you get the feeling that in their, obviously with 2 defeats so far for Kerry, I mean, for them to have 3 defeats after 4 games, like, I'm not saying it's a crisis or anything of that nature, because we all know that Kerry have been missing players, and obviously they won the All-Ireland last year, so there's bound to, a lot of players having club commitments, there's bound to maybe be a slight drop-off, but at the same time, you would look at it from a Kerry perspective and think, as you said, Sean O'Shea and David Clifford looked very, very sharp when they came on at half-time, so you would expect Kerry to have got this sort of, I suppose, early season blues, maybe you could say, out of their system and really, really now click into gear. And the fact they're at home as well, I'd imagine it's going to be in Clarny, like big game for Kerry, and, massive opportunity again to I suppose, put one over a side that, is going to be trying to beat them and try and sort of put a marker out of their own, because, they'll surely be competing for an All-Ireland come June, July as well. So, yeah, you'd expect Kerry surely to click into gear for this one.
Yeah, definitely. I think Kerry have had, the game against Monaghan, they showed flashes that they were back. And then against Mayo, particularly in the first half, they were just abject. They didn't look like they were there at all. They looked pretty toothless up front. But then in the second half, when Clifford and O'Shea came in, all of a sudden the old Kerry was back. That drop-off is worrying. It is that when they're missing those players, they are way more in with the pack, in with the rest of the teams. But those 2 players, when they come back in, they walk into any team in any era. And them being back is massive. I do agree with your comments about Armagh, that this has to be aiming for an All-Ireland title. That has been the goal, no doubt, since McGeeney took the job in 2015. He's a serial winner. He won the All-Ireland with Armagh as captain, as a player himself back in 2002. There's no doubt he walked in and was frustrated with how far Armagh had fallen off from the top. Since he's come in, no doubt, I'm guaranteeing he's been wanting to build them back up to All-Ireland champions. And with every year that passes, you do start to think, when are they going to make the breakthrough? When are they going to make the breakthrough? Because the furthest they've got is the quarterfinals under Kieran McGeeney. They haven't even made a provincial final. So this is the year. Look, there is obvious signs that they're making progress, but when it comes to actually on paper, what have they done? There's not actually a lot there. So they need to start converting this team, converting these players into genuine success that is going to last. And that's what I think he's going to aim for here. I think he's going to aim to beat Kerry, and he's going to aim to win the league title. I've said it at the start. I think Armagh are going to aim to put some silverware in the cabinet. This year as well, I think they have to go for Ulster. I really think they have to, because, as I said, he's been at the helm now since 2015. It's time that they start converting these players, converting this team into trophies.
Absolutely. And looking at Armagh, obviously, as you said there, like, so far just 1 win from their opening 3, and that came against a Monaghan side that a lot of us would perceive as one of the weaker teams in this division. And even on that day as well, like, it was a fairly close game. And actually, there was certain moments in the game where they looked like they could have been beat. Now, I know they dragged it out of a hat against Mayo and obviously, scored 5 points in injury time to get the draw. But let's not forget they were looking comfortable in that game as well. And obviously got beat the last day as well. So, I mean, it hasn't really been smooth so far from an Armagh perspective. Like, they've had good moments, not so good moments. Do you think teams maybe, like, because I feel like with Armagh, like, there was this thing with them last year where they were a bit like Roscommon, where a lot of people expected them to be thereabouts in the relegation zone. I think a few teams like Dublin, for example, at the start of the league, and even Tyrone as well, underestimate Armagh. They blew us away. They blew Tyrone away. They got a strong start in the league. And teams probably weren't aware of what Armagh were bringing to the table. Whereas you look at them now, teams are a lot more aware because, as you said, like, they've been building year on year. And I think teams are looking at Armagh now and they're really, really, like, prepared and ready for what they're bringing. So do you think maybe that has a bit of a, like, in my opinion, I think maybe it has a slight reason for their slight decline at the start of the league this year as opposed to how they started the league last year?
Yeah, without doubt, because if you actually look back now over the last 3-4 years under Kieran McGeeney, Armagh have always started the league brightly. They always have won their first 2 games. They've always, particularly the first game, they've always made a statement. I mean, the one that jumped out to me was, I think it was 2020. They played Cavan and they blew Cavan away. And this was the year that obviously Cavan went on to win the Ulster Championship. I know it was obviously delayed because of the pandemic and everything, but it was a good Cavan team and Armagh blew them away. And McGeeney in the aftermath kind of said, yeah, we'd been eyeing up this game. He always looked at the start of the league as a chance to really make a statement about what Armagh are going to do in that particular year. And who could forget last year? I mean, the performance they put in against Dublin was fantastic. Top it off, beating Tyrone and putting in a good, strong Division 1 campaign. But you're right. Teams know that now. Teams know that Armagh like to explode out in Division 1, like to explode out in whatever division they're in and make a really fast start. And they take it very seriously. There's no warming up. There's no nothing. They are ready to go when that first whistle is blown. And I think that's why, look, Monaghan gave them a right good game on the first day, even though I do think Armagh are a bit above Monaghan now. And then if you look at it, they haven't hit the same level since. Mayo, to be honest, Mayo should have put them away. I know that Armagh had stages when they were on top, but Mayo should have put them away. Armagh pulled the game back at the end and were, fortunate that Mayo weren't a bit more ruthless and a bit cuter in terms of getting over the line in that game. And then against Roscommon, again, when it came down to that last quarter, Roscommon just had the bit between their teeth and got the job done. And that type of defeat to Roscommon is kind of telling me that I'm not correct in my prediction that Armagh could go and win the league. They just lacked that killer instinct against Roscommon. They lacked it a bit against Mayo as well. When they were on top, they didn't control the game. They allowed Mayo back into it. It's the same as what Oisin said from Third Man Tackle GA. Big shout out to him. He just said, simply put, he said, we never do it easy. If we're winning, like that type of attitude, that no matter what game Armagh play, it will always be a roller coaster. It will always be back and forth. We'll have periods on top and periods where we're getting dominated. And that is what this team is. But the fact that everybody knows what they're coming with, everybody knows just how good Rian O'Neill is, just how good Jason Duffy, Rory Grugan, how good all these lads are. So you are right. The fact that they can't catch teams by surprise anymore definitely is definitely a bow missing from their string.
Yeah, absolutely. But you look at Kerry though, and obviously 2 goals conceded in the first half versus Mayo. They had their strongest fullback line available to them, and Tom O'Sullivan, Graham O'Sullivan, Jason Foley. But you think with how that fullback line defensively were set up, Armagh might look at it and think we can exploit that?
Oh, without doubt, because Mayo tore them apart at will sometimes. And I was actually very, very surprised, considering that's the same, you're right, it's the same Kerry defence that looked, unbreakable in last year's championship. That system with Morley and Foley. But they looked like they were back to the 2021 Kerry defence, where Tyrone carved them open for 3 goals in the All-Ireland semi-final. We know how good Armagh's inside forwards are. Not even just Rian O'Neill, who we all know how good he is, but the likes of Conor Turbot, the likes of even Ross McQuillan off the bench is a superb player. Rory Grugan, Tiernan Kelly, all these forwards have supreme talent. And if Armagh can hit them fast, hit them early, try and get at this Kerry defence, who Mayo successfully got at, because we've said Armagh fast starters. Remember against Dublin, the moment that we all knew, Armagh are not here just to play. Like Doreen O'Neill goal very early on was a real indicator of they're here for business. And I feel like, look, Mayo hit Kerry so early. It was 2-7 to 3 points at half time. If Armagh can hit them real early with a goal, this game could change. But I think they have to. They have to hit a big one on Kerry very quickly. If it gets past 20, 25 minutes and Armagh haven't scored a goal, I don't really give them a chance to win this game. Just to be honest, I think they have to hit Kerry early and make them be like, whoa, Armagh are here for business. They're here to collect the points. Because if they went away to Roscommon and they didn't get the victory, I know Roscommon are flying high right now. But still, Kerry, All-Ireland champions, David Clifford and Sean O'Shea back in the side. If you don't build up a lead on them early, I just think it's too big a task to get the win.
Yeah, ultimately then what do you think then? What's your pick for this one?
I'm going to say Kerry by 4.
Kerry by 4, yeah. Like I think, yeah, like I would go with Kerry as well. I think it would be a massive ask for Armagh to go to Kerry and beat them. I do think, as you said, like the fact that Kerry looked quite vulnerable defensively at times with their full back line in the game versus Mayo. Like you could see Armagh doing something similar, lofting balls into Rian O'Neill, him causing havoc in a similar way to Aidan O'Shea. Stephen Campbell doing a similar role to what James Carr done. Like I could see that, and Rory Grugan sort of doing the work in behind. I could see Armagh causing problems, but I just don't think we've seen the best of Armagh so far this year. And I think the fact that Kerry got beat so comprehensively by Mayo, I think they'll want to put out a bit of a statement themselves. So I think I'm going to go for a 3-point win there. I suppose moving on then, we obviously have, I suppose, plenty of other big games happening this weekend. The Mayo Tyrone is obviously the other game that's on Saturday. What are we thinking here? I mean, obviously when Mayo and Tyrone have played each other down the years, there's been no shortage of drama. You think back to the 2021 All-Ireland final, and even last year in the league, Tyrone getting the better of Mayo, of course, on that occasion as well, to big win that very much saw them stay in the league. So look, even when Tyrone have been wrote off, they've found a way to beat Mayo. So like Mayo will be massive favourites for this game, but Tyrone are as cute as anything. It wouldn't surprise me if they won this one.
Yeah, and on top of that, Tyrone beat Mayo to relegate them in 2020, wasn't it? That was the game where Mayo got relegated. So there's a lot of history between these two sides, and obviously that All-Ireland final, Tyrone became another member of the Break Mayo's Hearts and All-Ireland Finals Club. But I just think you're absolutely right. There's so much history between these sides, and Tyrone are cute. They are... that victory that came against Donegal, I predicted that Tyrone would win that game. I just thought, look, they're going to get this one. I think Donegal, look, they were coming fresh off the Kerry win. But I was just saying, look, Tyrone's backs are against the wall here, and they tend to be pretty inconsistent. But whenever their backs are against the wall, they come out swinging. And they definitely did in that game. And even though they lost to Galway, they finished that game really, really strongly. 4 points in a row. I know that they left it too late, but they were right in there against the Galway side, who have, given absolute hell to Mayo now over the last couple of years, and they drew with them in McHale Park. And if Ryan O'Donoghue puts that shot, a little bit to the right, Galway leave with the points. So it's one of those things where for Tyrone, the fact that they were right there with Galway tells me that they're going to be right there with Mayo as well. I know sometimes GA math doesn't add up, but given the history between these two sides, definitely won't be more than 4 points. And I think it's a really difficult one to call. Mayo looked damn good against Kerry. You can't ignore that. Particularly in the first half, they looked damn good. Picking up a 7-point win. Very impressive. I don't know. It's a really, really difficult one. It's very hard to call.
Yeah, like I think the fact that Mayo have the home advantage, don't they? Like I think the fact they're at home again, like I think just the feel good factor that was there after beating Kerry, how strong they started. You'd imagine that if they start as strong as they did against Kerry, it'll be hard for Tyrone to contain them, in my opinion. And I think, like, obviously, as you said, like Tyrone have had such a great record against Mayo in the last couple of years. But you feel like with Mayo, like this is another clear motivation, clear game for Kevin McStay to get up for. It's like, let's right this wrong right now. Let's go out there and show that we're in a better place. And you factor that in with the fact that Tyrone, in my opinion, like they were better against Galway than they were when they lost to Roscommon, but I still think at the same time there is a lot of pieces of the puzzle missing for Tyrone. I mean, shooting wise, it just hasn't been there. And I know like there was a commenter on one of the YouTube videos there last week that I didn't get around to responding to, and I think he was saying that I didn't watch the Galway Tyrone game clearly, which I definitely did. But it was more so around the fact that he felt that Tyrone played a lot better. It was just that their shooting was off. But what I would say is that shooting is a key element of the game. It's a key fundamental part of the game, and I think it is something that's letting Tyrone down. Aside from Darren McCurry, like they're just not quite. They're not firing on all cylinders. Like I think Cathal McShane, we haven't seen the best of him since his injury, really. And Darragh Canavan, I think, is a good forward, but they're lacking like killers, I think, in terms of their forwards, as opposed to.
The thing is that apart from Darren McCurry, who out of the Tyrone forward line would you say is a shoe-in for 3-4 points again?
Yeah, and that's the problem. That there is none. There's no one I can think of off the top. Not right now. Like I think a few years ago, Noel Sludden, Conor Moyler, for those
even
two.
McGeary would always pop up with a couple, but his scoring has dried up noticeably.
Yeah. Like all three of their scoring has dried up massively, in my opinion, in the last year, and even in this year at times as well. And like you're looking at like young lads, like I don't know, there seems to be a bit of hesitancy amongst the Tyrone management. Like you look at Rory Gallagher, for example, he's not afraid to throw in Paul Cassidy. He's not afraid to throw in McAvoy, in there as well. He's not afraid to throw in young players, and we see this. Jim Gavin's done it down the years with Dublin. He'll throw the young lads in. He'll give them game time. There seems to be a bit of hesitancy with Tyrone. Like they're playing Rory Canavan a little bit off the bench. Connor Cush isn't really coming in. Like Tyrone were under 20 All-Ireland champions last year. If anything, there should be players really, really knocking on the door there, and it just doesn't seem to be the case.
Yeah, that one confuses me because if you look at, I think the full forward, I might get his name wrong here, Matthew McLennan or something. Or McLean, I'm not sure exactly how you say his second name, but
might be,
but he's a tank. He's absolutely huge. He's bigger than most of the senior lads. I know obviously there's experience and there's no doubt he plays senior football for his club. And then he came on for Tyrone in the senior championship last year. I don't know what the story is with him this year, but he looked really, really promising for the under-20s there. And his partnership with Rory Canavan looked really, really good as well. The two of them seemed to bounce off each other really well. Darragh Canavan as well. Look at the success that Ergo Kieran had with the Canavan brothers up in the forward line. Like they looked really, really good. It does interest me as to why they haven't given them more game time, why Rory Canavan hasn't got a real crack of the whip yet. You wonder what more he has to do. Especially when you look at the fact that we just there, apart from McCurry, I don't think there is anyone in the Tyrone forward line who I would put money down is going to get at least 3 points in this game against Mayo. I think McShane is good for 2 or but sometimes he doesn't score. And if you look out the field, again, half forward line, not many scores coming from there really. Sludden pops up with the odd one. But if you're talking a guaranteed score, they do look to McCurry a lot. And I think if he has an off day, they're in trouble and they need to strengthen up on their options here. I think even the likes of Conor McKenna, what he added, particularly in the 2021 season, he could be quiet. Now all of a sudden he'd stick a goal away out of nowhere. Players like Mark Bradley, I really rated Mark Bradley highly. Even he's a miss from the panel. Like you forget because so many players have left the Tyrone team, but these players were really, really good. And with that competition being gone, they're having to persist with these players who aren't necessarily delivering to the level that they once did. The competition isn't as high. And that's why I'm so interested as to why, clear talent and clear ability in Rory Canavan and the full forward there, Matthew, why they haven't been brought through.
Yeah. Like it's a strange one, all right. And just looking at it there, it was Michael McLean, actually. It was his name there just before the fans come for you in the comments down below or something. certainly love a good correction. But yeah, Michael McLean is his name, obviously, and Connor Cush, another one as well, who I thought was very impressive, especially even in pre-season. But yeah, like as you said there, like some of those lads missing, like Lee Brennan as well, Tiernan McCann, who's opted out. Even Paul Donaghy looked like a great player. So I'm not too sure.
Scored 10 points in a league match a couple of years ago.
Yeah.
and then just
Yeah.
never really got a crack at the whip again.
Yeah, like if it happens with one or two players, you could look at it and think, fair enough, each individual case. But when there's 7, 8 players that are not making themselves available when they could make themselves available, now fair enough, Conor McKenna's come back to play AFL. That's probably a different case, maybe because it's such a huge opportunity, and he played there before. And then younger lads not getting involved. Like you do wonder, what exactly is happening. There has to be a common denominator somewhere, in my opinion, when you sort of look at it. But yeah, and you know that Cathal McShane, Noel Sludden, these lads have potential. Like they could produce a big game, as the season goes on, because there is potential there, and that's the thing, and that's why I think I made a video even last year saying that Tyrone were the closest challengers to Kerry, and at this moment in time that looks a million miles off, but you do look at the players that they have and you think if they can get a kick, even with their starting 15 that they have, like they wouldn't be a million miles away. But it just seems that it's not quite. Yeah, it's just not quite there.
Yeah, of course. Like, I mean, they won the All-Ireland 2 years ago. Like, this is not a bad team. This is a really, really good team. This is Division 1 standard team. This isn't an All-Ireland contender. And yeah, you're right. They're just missing that edge. And I think it was very interesting. I don't know, like the comments that were made about how the players being gone from the panel has reduced the competitiveness. Of course it has. Because if you know that there's not someone on your tail for that starting position, that same edge, that same yard that you might run to keep that spot, you don't necessarily have to do that anymore. When you think of Tyrone's forward line a couple of years ago, for their full forward line options, they had McShane coming off the bench. They had Darragh Canavan coming off the bench. They weren't even starting. And then they had McCurry, they had Maddie Donnelly, and they had obviously Paul Donaghy was coming in there. They had so much options going forward. And now Conor McKenna was there as well, sorry. And now, like, they're down a lot. They've lost a lot of the competition for those players, which means that they have to. This is the point that I was making when it comes to Michael McGleenan and Rory Canavan, is I don't know why they're not being brought in, because they would put those senior lads on red alert, and they would put those guys on red alert as to your position could be taken here by a really hungry All-Ireland winning under-20 player here who is desperate to get his hands on your jersey. I feel like that would do them the world of good.
Yeah, a few comments coming in here. Jack says it depends on Tyrone, but I see Mayo winning here. Keane says having home advantage should be enough for an informed Mayo to overcome Tyrone. Mayo and their Kevin McStay look like they mean business this year. Mikey says Mayo will be out for revenge, but Tyrone will be more desperate for the win. And James says any chance of doing a video on the championship structure? I can't get my head around. Yeah, I did make a video a couple of months ago, but it probably didn't go in huge detail. So yeah, maybe I could definitely make a video on that at some point, or maybe a bit of a discussion, in a podcast form or something of that nature. But ultimately, then, what are you thinking? Mayo, Tyrone, Mayo at home. Are they going to get the job done, or could Tyrone do it again against Mayo?
I'm gonna go Mayo by 2. Mayo by 2 points. I think they've looked pretty good so far in the league, and one thing that they have shown is their fighting this year. They're battling, and they didn't give up against Galway. And I know that they kind of threw the game away against Armagh, but before they threw the game away, they battled to take it back. And then they have shown those battling qualities. And against Kerry, they look damn good. So I'm going to go with them to get a narrow victory here and a significant victory, and then push themselves towards a potential league final.
Yeah, I was kind of edging towards a draw, but I think maybe just by the smallest margins. I think Tyrone are going to play well here, and I think they are gonna turn up and they're going to make it difficult for Mayo. But I just think Mayo by the smallest of margins. I think if they start as strong as they have in the last couple of games, especially how they started against Kerry, and they bring that to the table, I struggle to see how Tyrone can deal with that. And I think Mayo might build up a bit of a lead, and maybe Tyrone might eat into it the more the game goes on. Monaghan versus Roscommon. Obviously, Roscommon are the team on everyone's lips at this moment in time. Obviously, 3 straight wins at the start of the league. They're actually on a run of 12 straight games in the of the National Football League when you think back to Division 2 last year. 11 straight games, actually, it was. So, I mean, they're on an incredible run. And look, Monaghan, that was a big win for them last week against Donegal. So what are we thinking here?
This is really hard. This is a really, really hard one to call, because for Roscommon, they've done brilliantly. They've absolutely shot the lights out in their first 3 games. They looked so good against Tyrone, so good against Galway, and then again exactly the same against Armagh. But this one is really hard. They're going away to a Monaghan side that have just beaten Donegal out the gate, beaten them by 8 points, and a Monaghan side that, in a very similar way to how Roscommon have won their games, Monaghan were in a dogfight there against Donegal. They were neck and neck for long stages. And then when the last quarter came up, Monaghan pulled away in a similar way that Roscommon have in their games. Roscommon have pulled away as it's come towards the end. They did it against Tyrone, and they definitely did it against Armagh. But it's one of those things where you're coming into this game thinking Monaghan have their backs up against the wall. They need to get this victory now. Roscommon are safe. Roscommon have proven the doubters wrong in terms of that they're not going to be relegated. Monaghan still have to do that. They have to prove that they can stay up. And the more I think about this game, this is a real banana skin for Roscommon. And let's not forget, I know Roscommon, it's a different setup under Davy Burke, but it's the same players, a lot of the same players anyway, that Anthony Cunningham had in a side that lost to Clare last year in the qualifiers when no one saw that coming. It's a Roscommon side that has the potential to drop the ball when no one expects them to. And for some reason, a lot of people are saying, yeah, they're going to beat Monaghan now because they've beaten Tyrone, as if GAA math always adds up. It doesn't. Yeah. And going away to Monaghan is going to be one hell of a challenge. And the more I think about it, the more I'm actually kind of picking Monaghan to upset the odds here. I think Roscommon are on such a roll, but I don't know. In a way, they've had home advantage for all of their games. Like, I know that they played Galway away, but it's still a ground that they're very familiar with. It's a ground that they've played pretty much every year in. They don't have much experience of playing in Clones, I'm guessing, where the game is. So if Monaghan have home advantage, I'm guessing that's where they're going to play it.
Yeah.
They don't have much experience playing there. And when they go into that, I feel like they actually could be caught on the hop here. I don't mean to offend any Roscommon fans, but I've seen it last year. Armagh went on a great run, and then they got caught when no one really expected them to. This could happen again. And I think, look, I'd be delighted for Roscommon if they kept it going. I really, really would. I'd be delighted for them if they kept it going. But I just think Monaghan's desperation to get another win and stay up in Division 1 again for another year, they'll eye this game up as we have them at home, and they're going to put everything into winning this. McManus is back. Jack McCarron is back. Conor McCarthy's on fire. It's a dangerous one for Roscommon.
Yeah, like, it definitely is. And as you said, like, how many times down the years do we see scenarios where, you know, a team goes out, beats the favourites, and then, you know, they're expecting now to carry it on. And for Roscommon, like, they've been the underdogs really in the first 3 league games. Like, let's be honest, they weren't, you know, I know Tyrone maybe had a bit of jeopardy about them, so you could arguably say Roscommon were slight favourites, but even at that, I was sort of, I think I did back them to beat Tyrone, but I think the general consensus was that Tyrone were the favourites. And then obviously against Armagh, were they favourites in that game? Probably not. And against Galway, they definitely weren't the favourites. So, you know, you're looking at it and thinking, this time around, they're going in as favourites, and that will suit Monaghan, you know, and this is a game that could really, really suit them, I think.
Yeah, because the pressure's off them. They're a Monaghan side that over the last, I know that they've lost the likes of Drew Wiley and Colin Walsh, but they are a side that has achieved consistent Division 1 football now for the last, I mean, when were the last time that Monaghan were into Division 1? It's a good few years ago now. They've stayed up in Division 1 a while. It's a side that have consistently won Ulster titles or been in Ulster finals over the last decade and been one of the teams at the top table. Roscommon have bounced up and down, Division 2 and Division 1. I'm saying, look, recency memory here can be biased, and all of a sudden writing off Monaghan, you know, that they can't do this and they can't do that. Yes, Monaghan lost to Armagh, a side that Roscommon beat there, but Roscommon beat them at the Hyde, and they beat Tyrone at the Hyde. And look at it. Tyrone, if Darren McCurry sticks that opportunity in the back of the net, I think Tyrone go on and win that game. The one, because at the moment that McCurry got that opportunity, Tyrone were 3 points ahead. And if McCurry sticks that in the net to put them 6 points ahead, I think Tyrone go on and finish that game. So while, yes, Roscommon have been brilliant, I'm not knocking them for that. They've been absolutely fantastic. And Davy Burke has been magnificent since he's came in. They haven't been perfect. And there has been moments where they have been vulnerable. And I think particularly going away now to a ground that they're not familiar with. They are not familiar with Clowness. I think they could be vulnerable. And I think Monaghan, given their desperation and their need to get victories under their belt and points on the board to survive another year in Division 1, I think they might take a scalp here. Monaghan by 1.2 points here from me.
Yeah, a few comments coming in here. Gavin says, I think it's baffling. Paddy Power has Roscommon lower than Cork, Kildare, and Monaghan in the rankings for the All-Ireland series. I know it early days, but still. Yeah, for some reason, the bookies never really seem to take Roscommon seriously. I think they were like 5th favourites.
Lower than Cork and Kildare for me makes no sense.
Yeah, that's madness, really, isn't it? Especially when you look at Kildare, like on the basis of how they've looked so far this year. Mikey also says, I think Rossi's will frustrate the life out of Monaghan. I don't buy this talk of Rossi's throwing a game. I think they'll go for a league title. And Keane says, Roscommon have enough quality to win this one, and I expect them to win at least by 4 points. Roscommon to remain in pole position. And Kid Cuddy says, welcome back, Shay. How do you feel about Monaghan staying up? Roscommon home, Galway away, Tyrone home, and Mayo away. Obviously, their final 4 fixtures. 2 wins there could be enough. And yeah, I mean, like, they do have a massive chance, and especially that Tyrone game in a couple of weeks. Like, if it's in the balance, then second last game of the season, at home, especially looking at Tyrone, maybe being a bit vulnerable, could be a huge game.
But that's what I mean, is that Galway and Mayo away are going to be such difficult games to win. So they know this. They're going to look at the fixtures. Vinnie Corey, very calm, obviously said after the Kerry game, it's not time to panic. Obviously appreciate the welcome back message there as well. But in that, Monaghan are going to look at the fixtures and they're going to say, this is the one that we have to win. If they don't win this one, they're gone. It's simply put for me. They're not going to beat Galway or Mayo away. I would be fairly confident in that. So they have to beat Roscommon at home, and they're going to put everything they have into this. And then if they pick up this victory, then the one they're eyeing up is the Tyrone one. And boy, what a game that will be, because if Tyrone are near in relegation as well, and the winner of that game stays up, what a game that's going to be. But that's my reason for this. You look at it, Roscommon, job done. You've stayed up. And I know that, it's ideal to go crack on and go for a league title. Of course it is. But Monaghan are scrapping for their survival. They're scrapping to stay up. And I feel like they're going to want this game just a little bit more than Roscommon will. They have home advantage. Don't get me wrong, Roscommon now are in better form. They've won 3 back-to-back games. But Monaghan need this game. And I think they're just going to scrape it. I really do. I think like Roscommon have been absolutely A+ so far in the league. And they've really, really shown that they are to be respected as contenders for the whole thing this year. But Monaghan need this game. And we saw last year when they were against Dublin, and, once their survival was on the line, Monaghan just had that little bit between their teeth to get the ball to McCarron to swing the ball over for the winning point. And I think they're going to have similar energy about them in this game. I think a big win is coming for Monaghan, not in terms of on the scoreline, but in terms of significance. I think they're going to win it by 1 or 2 points, and it's going to be a huge win in them staying up.
Yeah, like I think it definitely will be close. All right, like I think the bubble probably will burst at some point for Roscommon, as you said. Like, I mean, against Galway, there was a few people who messaged me and even said, like, even Roscommon fans saying we weren't good at all. It was only really in the final sort of 10-15 minutes. It was more so that Galway probably threw the game away. But I do think Roscommon have done a lot of good work so far this year, and I can see them, as Mikey was saying there in the comments, like I could see Roscommon frustrating Monaghan. I could see them making this a tough battle. Like, Roscommon have actually played a lot of, like, a bit like an Ulster team in some ways, in the league so far, where they've been very tough to break down, very solid defensively, and they've hit on the counter attack brilliantly. And that's why I think Roscommon by 1 or 2 points, I think But I do think it will be, a very, very close game, and certainly wouldn't surprise me if Monaghan did pull off the victory here. Donegal going up against Galway at home, massive game as well for Donegal. I mean, it's looking like Donegal are being cut adrift a little bit. I know they've the same amount of points as three other sides in the league table, but you look at score difference, which is usually sort of a good barometer around this time of the season, and minus 23 there. Like, and obviously a bad defeat away to Monaghan. Like, as you said, losing away to Monaghan, tough ground, but to be beat by 8 points was tough. And you are looking at it for Donegal. This is going to be tough for them, but this is the chance, I suppose, to prove that they was wrong.
Yeah, this is the big chance. This is obviously home advantage against a team that a lot of people are hyping up as All-Ireland contenders, and a lot of people are talking about how good Galway look. It's a Galway side without Damien Comer, without Shane Walsh, Rob Finnerty as well. I know he obviously is back, but 100% fitness, we're not 100% sure. Donegal, on the flip side though, no Paddy McBrearty. And I have to say, especially when he went off against Tyrone in round 2, they just looked toothless up front. They looked like they had no idea how to get past Tyrone's defence. And then against Monaghan as well, not even really, apart from Jamie Brennan's effort, not really much threat of scoring a goal. And Monaghan don't have, in my opinion, any as good a defence as Galway do. And that's why this game will be difficult for Donegal's forward line. Even the game they won against Kerry, they scored 13 points. Like, Kerry scored 1-9. That wasn't necessarily Donegal's firepower that won them that game. They battled to victory in that game. I know, obviously, the conditions always, terrible up in Letterkenny. There always seems to be a gale force wind. Galway are used to that, though. Galway are used to that. Like, Connacht isn't necessarily always sunshine and rainbows either. Like, they've had quite the conditions against Mayo and Roscommon down through the years, so they're well used to it. And I just can see Galway scraping this one by a point or two. I think it's going to be another hard, tough game. But I just think Donegal, especially without McBrearty, unless Conor O'Donnell turns in a sensational performance, I can't see them winning this one.
Yeah, me neither. Like, I think, yeah, like we said there about Tyrone maybe lacking good forwards, and at least from a Tyrone perspective, they've got underage players coming through, and they've got players that I think can kick them into gear at some point. Whereas with Donegal having lost Michael Murphy, to retirement, and now Paddy McBrearty's injury as well, you're like, I think Shane O'Donnell's looked all right. Conor O'Donnell's, had good sparks. Michael Langan was a player I was always impressed with. Haven't really seen enough of him this year. So like you are looking at it from a Donegal perspective, and they just don't really have that much firepower. And as you said, like Galway, strong side defensively at the minute, and you could just see Galway winning this one quite comfortably.
Yeah, like I'd say again, as I said, 2 or 3 points is what I'd kind of be going for Galway to win by. But Donegal have had the forwards coming through. I just don't really know where they've gone. You talk about Oisin Gallen looked like an absolute world beater coming through there a few years ago. You think about the point that he kicked against Tyrone in 2020 to win it for them in the pouring rain. And I was thinking this is, the birth of a superstar here for Donegal. This is his coming out moment. And we haven't really seen him since at all. They haven't given him a crack at the whip at all. And since then, he hasn't really been around. You look at it, Niall O'Donnell was another one who consistently started under Declan Bonner and then didn't. All of a sudden just wasn't a starter. And he was a key player for Donegal for a while there. They've chopped and changed. And with McBrearty now, a lot seemed to rest on his shoulders very quickly. When Murphy was gone, it seemed to be kind of understood that McBrearty was the man for Donegal. And now for him to get injured, they need Conor O'Donnell. They need Michael Langan. They need these guys to step up, or else they're just going to have no firepower up front. They need more out of Jamie Brennan as well. They need him to be a direct threat for scores, because, popping up for an odd shot at the posts every 20 minutes isn't going to cut it against this Galway defence. He needs to be out looking for the ball. He needs to be the main man, because in the Donegal forward line with Michael Murphy and McBrearty, he was, don't get me wrong, fantastic player, but he was, the third strongest member in that full forward line with McBrearty and Murphy. He wasn't more of a threat than them two. Now he needs to be the main threat because the other two are gone. He needs to be the main man. He needs to do what McBrearty's done, because McBrearty used to be in the full forward line with Michael Murphy and Colin McFadden, and he was very much the third wheel out of those three. Now, Jamie Brennan needs to do what McBrearty did and step into that role and lead this Donegal team. He needs to put up a big performance. So does Conor O'Donnell. So does Michael Langan if he plays in this game. They need those lads to step up. I know that they still have the likes of Ryan McHugh and Owen Bon Gallagher to come back, but they need massive performances out of their forwards, because going forward in every game that they've played so far, Donegal, they haven't looked threatening at all, and they need to change that in this game. Have they scored a goal off the top of my head? They didn't get one against Kerry. They didn't get one against Monaghan. Yeah, they haven't got a goal yet. I mean, that sums it up if you're talking about threat going forward. They haven't hit the back of the net. That needs to change if they're going to beat Galway.
Absolutely, yeah. Like, and I suppose with Galway, like we haven't really seen the best of them yet. Obviously, like, and look, they don't have Shane Walsh and Damien Comer, massive injury. But I suppose the one thing that has impressed me with Galway, and even though they did get beat by Roscommon, is that there's a bit of doggedness about Galway. Like, there's a bit of a battling spirit, a bit of a fighting spirit. You know, Peter Cook, Ian Burke, these lads, like they're a tough physical team, and that's not always something I've associated with Galway. Maybe a little bit under Kevin Walsh in his years. But like with Galway, is always about flair and great attack and play. But they now seem to have added a lot more sort of dark arts to the game. And I think when they do get, Comer back from injury, Shane Walsh back in the side, Peter Cook and Ian Burke have more time sort of back playing for Galway and Pádraig Joyce, I think Galway could be a force.
Yeah, I mean, absolutely a contender for the All-Ireland, I would say. I mean, you look at the performance they put in the All-Ireland final against Kerry last year. I think Damien Comer didn't have his best game. Robert Finnerty didn't have his best game, and yet they still were very close to Kerry. I know that was, through Shane Walsh's brilliance, but they were right there with Kerry, and they're right there. Like, obviously now they are the best team in Connacht, and obviously it's up to Mayo and Roscommon to change that. Like, they are the Connacht champions. But obviously Roscommon and Mayo are looking brilliant right now. But Galway look damn good too. You think about how good the likes of Sean Kelly look, how good John Daly is. They're a very, very strong side. I think if they continue improving on Conor Gleeson and goal, that's the one thing that I would say is a potential weakness there. When you look at Armagh, how they were able to get at Conor Gleeson in the last few minutes, a few high balls in, especially with Kerry in the All-Ireland final, right from the start. I think it was the first minute of the game, they fired in a couple of high ones on Conor Gleeson. It was very clear that it was a tactic to let's rattle this fella straight away. He's a very promising goalkeeper, but I feel like they need to work with him more to make sure that they don't have any chip in the armour here going into the championship. But with this game, you're right. It's going to be a battle, but luckily they have been prepared for that, and they are prepared for that. And they know that the conditions will probably be tough. And I'm thinking that they're going to get a victory here. Very similar to the game against Mayo, but I think they hang on this time.
Yeah, I think so. I think it'll be similar enough to how they beat Tyrone last week as well. I think it will be 3 to 4 point win, but I think it'll be a fairly comfortable win, and it'll be a win really that Donegal never really looked like coming back into the game, in my opinion. Moving on to Division 2, we'll just have a look at the table here quickly to refresh ourselves as to how things look here. So Derry on top with 6 points on score difference. Dublin obviously have 6 points there as well. Meath in third with 4 points, and then we've Cork, Louth, Clare and Kildare all with 2 points, and Limerick getting cut adrift there with 3 defeats from 3 so far, sitting bottom of the league. So looking at some of the games here, I mean, we'll start with Kildare going up against Derry. Obviously a massive win for Kildare away in Ennis, their first win of the season, a couple of late points in injury time. Massive for them to get the victory. Derry, on the other hand side, have looked, other than the Louth game, very, very comfortable, very comprehensive, completely tore Meath apart, as we were saying on your show. If that had been a boxing match, it would have been stopped after a couple of minutes. You're looking at Kildare and thinking, although they got the win against Clare, there is a little bit of fragility, I think, they're quite fragile, this Kildare side. So, I mean, it'd be hard to see them get anything from this game.
Agreed. That being said, Kildare have this tendency of producing weirdly superb performances every once in a while. You think back to the Newbridge or Nowhere one, which I know it was in 2018, but there's a good few lads in this Kildare side that were on that team, the likes of Paul Cribben, the likes of Kevin Feely, that were involved in that side that are still here today. And all of a sudden they just turned up and they were ready for it. And then you think about the Dublin performance in the league. Look, I don't think they played their best, but they were very, very good. You think about beating Dublin last year in Division 1, drawn with Kerry, the performance against Tyrone as well. They really should have won that game. And I think that was the game where they threw away survival in Division 1 by not closing that game out. So it wouldn't really surprise me if they just turn up against Derry. I'm not saying they're going to beat Derry before everyone jumps on me. I still am saying Derry are going to win. But it wouldn't surprise me if Kildare just turn up like they did against Dublin and make it way harder a game than people think. I don't think it's going to be as bad as the Meath game. The Meath game was like an execution. But I think Kildare will put it up to Derry a little bit more than Kildare did. Than Meath did. I think I'm going to go similarly enough to how, I don't know, similar enough to how the Dublin game went. I think a little bit more of a difference in the scoreline. I think Derry will kind of hold them at arm's length and win by about 4 or 5 points. But I think Kildare are such an unpredictable team.
Yeah, Keane says Derry will prove too strong for Kildare. Yeah, I think so as well. Like, I think it won't be maybe as much as what it was. I think it was an 11-point victory in the end over Meath, give or take. But
yeah, I don't think it's going to be that, but 4 points, 5 points.
I think 4 or 5 points. Like, I could see Derry. The worry is how slow Kildare. Like, they start very slow against Clare, very slow against Cork, and they conceded that early goal against Dublin as well. And what do Derry do? They start fast. How many times do they get a goal in the opening minute of matches? How often do they start so strong? So that will be the worry for me from a Kildare perspective, is that Derry have this habit of starting very, very strong, and Kildare will probably leave themselves with too much to do. But I do agree at the same time that, like, Kildare are a good side. They were good in Division 1 last year, and I think their performances will gradually get better as the league goes on. But I just think Derry here will be far too strong.
Agreed. I think Derry are just that little bit ahead. And for sides like Kildare and Meath, it shouldn't be something that knocks them down. It should be something that gives them an inspiration. Because look at where Derry were 6-7 years ago, and the fact that they've turned it around. When Derry were in Division 4, I think Meath were either about to get promoted to Division 1 or they were in Division 1. They were right up there. And for Derry now to have come all the way up, and look at how easily Derry beat them. So for Meath and Kildare, under relatively new management teams, like I know O'Rourke is in his first year, Glenn Ryan is in his second year, they should look at Derry and be like, that's how far we can go if we put in the right system and the right tactics and bring in the right players. That's how far we can go. And I think Kildare, look, this is a game where they can just give it a lash. They're at home. They can just give it a go. I don't think anybody really expects them to win. But just go for it, I'd say. Definitely do not let Derry start fast. Don't let them score a goal in the first 10 minutes. Don't. Put everybody behind the ball if you have to. Don't let them score a goal in the first 10 minutes. Because if you do, the game's over already. Don't let them get that initial goal. Try stay with them. Be 1 or 2 points off them at halftime. And then just go for it in the second half. And see what happens. But realistically, I think Derry by 5. That's what I'm going to say.
Yeah, I'd agree with you there. Meath and Louth, obviously neighbours, and certainly a fixture that brings up a lot of memories. You think of obviously 2010 and the saga there. And I remember one year Louth got revenge on Meath, and I think sent them down to Division 3. So plenty of memories in this game. Obviously both sides locked on 2 points. What are we thinking here?
This is a tough one because Louth have looked good. Like, Louth have looked way better than I thought they would. They should have beaten Clare in the first game. They conceded 4 points in a row in additional time to lose the game. They were, comfortable, and it looked like they were going to get a very, very impressive victory. And then Clare racked off 4 points in a row in injury time to take the points. Then against Derry, again, they were right there at the end. Niall Toner sticks away a goal and Derry power on for the victory. But right before that Toner goal, Louth looked like they might be able to cause a shock. And then against Limerick, they finished the job, get the 2 points there. And now coming up against a Meath side that have just been beaten by Derry, like ruthlessly. Yeah. It is an interesting one because you're thinking, how bad an impact has that Derry defeat had on these Meath lads? Like, are they really down in the dumps? Because if they are, Louth can take them. Louth can take them. Like, anybody who doesn't believe that they can, of course they can. But you do look at it and say, Meath, I think it all comes down to how well do Louth perform defensively, because what we have seen is when Meath can get at you, they punish you. They could get at Cork, they stuck 3 goals away. They could get at Clare, they stuck 4 goals away. They couldn't get at Derry, and that was a very painful game for Meath. Like, if they can get at this Louth defence, then Meath will win, and they will win comfortably. But if Louth can shut them out, Meath's point scoring ability isn't that strong. And you look at some of the shooters that Louth have, Sam Mulroy, Connor Grimes, Kieran Byrne. You look at some of these shooters. I don't know if Kieran Byrne is with them now, but they have the likes of Sam Mulroy, expert shooters. If they can get these lads on the ball, Meath don't have point shooters that are as efficient as the Sam Mulroy. So if they can stick with them and shut them out and then turn it into a point scoring competition and a real battle of a game. Louth have been in these battles all throughout Division 3 so far. And yes, they didn't come out on the right side against Clare and they didn't come out on the right side against Derry, but they did against Limerick in the last game. And I think it's going to be a tough one for me. It's a potential banana skin, but it is at home. And I'm going to go with them to get the points. I'm going to go with Meath to win this one by about 4 points.
Yeah, I'm going to throw a bit of a cat amongst the pigeons here and maybe upset a few Meath fans, but I think Louth are going to beat them. I really, really do. And I think you've alluded to a few reasons there already. Like, I think defensively, I think Louth are very strong. You've seen how much they frustrated Derry. Like, Derry are a side that are renowned for scoring plenty of goals, and although Derry did get a goal in the end, it was hard come by, and Louth were very, very well set up defensively. And as you said, like, I think if you pack your full back line, your half back line, like, I think it makes things tough for Meath, and I just think Louth are going to squeeze this, and it's going to be a bit of a Mickey Hart masterclass in my opinion. And I think Sam Mulroy, Darren McConnell on the counter attack. Yeah, I think Louth will nick it by a point in my opinion.
Very interesting. I don't know if you'll be Meath's biggest fan after that, but
I don't think I'm their biggest fan anyway, so it doesn't really make a difference.
No, I do think it's going to be an interesting one because, like, it's a local rivalry, and Louth would love nothing more than to beat Meath and to. I think
they're going to be bang up for it, and I think for me there might be a bit of damage repair. Yeah, just for not necessarily complacency. I think Colm O'Rourke will have them right up for it, but I think Meath might be more ready for the Dublin game, for example, than they will be for this game. I think this game, there might be a slight element of complacency, but I think it's more so that I think Louth will surprise them with how well they'll play. And look, I could be miles wrong, and certainly this is a prediction that, on Monday morning or Monday, or, when we're talking about it, I could be made a fool of, but yeah, like look, life is made for both.
Clip it. No, I do. I completely see what you're saying when it comes to this. There is definitely a road to victory for Louth here. There definitely is. Meath haven't shown an ability to kick 18, 19 points. They haven't. So far anyway. But maybe they go out and do it. But I think if Meath win this game, I think they score at least 3 goals. And I think if Louth can hold them, I think it could get really interesting real quick. If Meath can't get the goals and Louth don't fold, I think it could get really interesting.
100%. We've Dublin going up against Clare, obviously in Croke Park. Bit of a trivia question maybe for yourself. When's the last time these two met each other in a competitive football match? I know you weren't expecting this, but
quick, let me look it up. No, it's a tough one. You see,
they only played each other once as well. From what I know, maybe obviously, I didn't.
1992.
You're right there.
Right,
so
yeah. The All-Ireland semi-final when Clare won Munster.
That's right. Yeah.
That's what I was thinking. I was gonna say league, but no. Sure, Clare would have been Division 4 last time Dublin were Division 2.
Yeah, spot on. So obviously not much history between these two, but I'd imagine for Clare supporters like a great occasion to come to Croke Park and play Dublin. But I think, what do you reckon? Like, I mean, like, if you were to look at the bookies odds here, like, Dublin are nailed on favourites, and they should be. They definitely should be. Like, I think if we don't win this by more than 4 or 5, I think there's a lot of head scratching in my opinion. That's not to disrespect Clare. I think Clare have a lot of very, very good players. But I think when you look at the broad spectrum of things and the players that Dublin have, we should be beating them comfortably.
Yeah.
Like we really should be.
Oh, it's one of those things where you're like, come on, how far have we fallen here? Like, there's 6 All-Irelands to now not being able to beat teams that are mid-table in Division 2. Like, that is no disrespect to Clare. Colin Collins has quietly done one of the most impressive managerial reigns of the decade. He's quietly just kept Clare competitive, no matter who's gone. To think he's lost generational players like Gary Brennan, like David Tubridy, the all-time Allianz League top scorer, and he's kept them competitive. He's found new players. He's found the likes of Emmett McMahon, Darren O'Neill, Gavin Cooney, and just kept them ticking over. You know, you think about the level that the likes of Owen Cleary, the likes of Keelan Sexton, the likes of Jamie Malone, you think about the level that these guys have got to under his watch. He's done amazing things with them, but Dublin should be beating them, especially in Croke Park. Croke Park is Dublin's home pitch. They play so many games there. My opinion is this game should be played in Parnell Park. Look, it's a great occasion for Clare to come and play in Croke Park. But I'd love if the game was played in Parnell Park. It would be great to go as Dublin fans and, be right up close with the Dublin team again. When was the last time Dublin played a match in Parnell Park? Like, apart from the O'Byrne Cup. But the last, like, you look back on documentaries where it was, I think I watched a Laker Gale and it was about Alan Brogan's career. And it was, a league match was being played in Parnell Park. And you look at how close the crowd is to the pitch and the atmosphere, and the place looks buzzing. Croke Park, when it's not full, it does feel slightly hollow. And I do look at the atmosphere in McHale Park for Mayo against Galway. I'm jealous. I'm jealous of it. I wish we could have that. I really do. And like, I know I think it would be pretty awesome, especially for the Dublin fans to be right there, at eye level with the players and to be able to, watch the action, firsthand. I think it would be pretty cool. But for Clare, look, it's a great occasion getting to play in Croke Park, but I don't think they're going to get the win. I think Dublin are going to win this by, I'm going to say 5 or 6 points. Definitely should be winning by at least that.
Yeah, I agree. Like, and I'd agree with you as well. Like, I think it would be great to see the Dublin footballers play in Parnell Park. Like, it has obviously been a long time ago since we played Meath, I think, in Parnell Park during COVID. Obviously, that was without fans. I think they just put that game there, like, just more so out because obviously Croke Park was sort of busier or something was going on there. But yeah, like, generally speaking, Parnell Park hasn't been a thing for the Dublin footballers. And I think when you look at it, like, is there that many Clare fans that are going to travel to Croke Park? Probably not. Like, they're more of a hurling county. I don't think they're going to bring big numbers for this, to be honest. And I don't think Dublin fans are particularly going to be interested in this game, especially like it's on Sunday. You think of some of the sporting events that are on that day as well, like outside of the GA. I think Parnell Park would have been the much better option there, in my opinion. But yeah, I'm going to go with Dublin to win it by 6 or 7 and win quite comfortably. And I suppose lastly, Cork versus Limerick in Division 2. What are we thinking here? I mean, surely Cork are going to win this and not do a Cork on it and completely blow it. Like, I mean, surely not. Like, surely we're not going to have Matthew on Monday here ranting and raving after Cork have got beat again.
Don't hold your breath. Like, that type of thing. Cork have a tendency to look amazing, and then you think, oh, they're making progress here. And then the next day, I mean, the perfect example is 2020. They beat Kerry, and then, everyone's thinking, oh my God, they've taken out, the favourites for the All-Ireland, or, right up there with Dublin as the favourites for the All-Ireland. And then they just don't turn up against Tipperary in the Munster final. Like, that just sums up the last 10 years for Cork, really, since they were competitive for All-Ireland titles. You think 10 years ago, 2013, the year that they lost to Dublin in the All-Ireland quarter-final. You could say 2014, the year they lost to Mayo in the All-Ireland quarter-final. So I think that was the last time I really thought Cork were actual All-Ireland contenders. They've fallen a long way since then, and they need to keep this streak now, where this year I have a good feeling about Cork. I do have a good feeling. I like John Cleary as a manager. I like the players that he's brought in. I like the fact that Rory Dean and co are back in the panel. the defence there, Matty Taylor, that goal against Dublin was a cracking finish. Sean Powter, you think Sean Meehan, Maurice Shanley, Daniel O'Mahony, Paul Ring, a lot of talent. And now they're finally settled into this side. The midfield pairing of Colm O'Callaghan and Ian Maguire, that's a fantastic midfield pairing. Micheál Martin is a very good goalkeeper. Like, they are getting it right. Cathal O'Mahony's injury is definitely a blow to them. But you look at the form of Brian Hurley inside. Stephen Sherlock definitely can do better in this game. But I'm thinking Cork win this game. Limerick, it's not looking good for them. Obviously defeated by Louth, the fellow team that you would look at immediately as a side that would be fighting relegation. Defeated by them, defeated by Derry, and defeated by Dublin. Like, it's not looking good for them, and I think Cork win this one.
Yeah, I mean, you'd wonder who made the fixture list for Limerick. Like, it is such a tough fixture list for them, like to start with. And certainly playing Cork again away from home, it's another very, very tough one, I would agree. And I think as long as Cork show what Cork can do, I think this will be very comfortable. And I think
it's Cork's game to lose. Limerick, the best way I can put this is, I don't think Limerick can beat Cork, but I think Cork can definitely lose to Limerick.
Beat themselves.
Cork can definitely lose to Limerick, but Limerick can't beat Cork. Limerick need Cork to mess it up. Limerick need Cork to get a red card in the first 20 minutes. Maybe Ian Maguire might pull someone's jersey and get sent off. That type of thing. Limerick need Cork to just not turn up. But if Cork do, they win.
100%. I suppose we'll move on to Division 3 and 4. We won't spend too much time on these divisions, obviously, because we haven't seen that much highlights through the Sunday game. So there's probably not a lot to discuss or break down. But looking at Division 3, I should have it here. Here we go. So looking at it there, we've got Cavan on top with 6 points, Westmeath, Fermanagh down, and Offaly all locked on 4 points. Antrim in there with 2 points, and Tipperary and Longford in the bottom spots with 3 defeats from 3 so far. Antrim versus Fermanagh, what are we thinking here? I mean, Antrim, what a big result it was for them the last day. But at the same time, Fermanagh are putting up a bit of a unlikely promotion charge, and another win here. That's 3 in 4, and Fermanagh will be looking very good.
They have to win this one, Fermanagh. They have to, if they want to get promotion. This actually is a tricky one. This because you think about Antrim, look how close they came to Down. They only lost that one by a point, and they put up 2-17 in that game. The forward line has been actually firing under McEntee, which is something that I wasn't 100% sure of when he first took over. You think about the Offaly game, they were competitive in that game as well. And then obviously beating Tipperary in Semple Stadium, when I thought that's the game that Tip are going to take. So Antrim have surprised me with the level that they've been at this year. And for Fermanagh, this is a really tricky one. This is, I think, as tricky a game as they could have got in the next round. I know, obviously, like they, playing Cavan and stuff, that's obviously more difficult. But playing Antrim away is a tricky one, because Antrim are going to be fired up. It's a local derby, and Antrim have had success against Fermanagh over the last few years. And I'm just, it's a tough one to know. I am going to go Fermanagh to win. I am going to say that, look, the form that they're on, they beat Down, and the momentum that they're carrying, and they're chasing promotion rather than Antrim now, who are just trying to avoid relegation. So, I'm going to go Fermanagh to win this one. Narrowly, though, point or two.
Yeah, I think so as well. Like, I think Antrim's form has definitely surprised me, and I think of how well they've looked so far. Although I haven't got to see too much of them. Like, I think, you think the fact they hit 217 versus Down, and obviously scored 119 against Tip, like, they're putting up big numbers. But I think Fermanagh is a different kettle of fish, and I think the form that they're in, that big win last week again, over Down. So I think I'm going to go with Fermanagh to back it up and get another victory for them. Down versus Westmeath, huge game as well for either. Obviously Westmeath putting together back-to-back wins themselves. Down won their opening 2 games, but then got beat by Fermanagh. So you kind of look at how the fixtures are shaping up. A defeat here for Down, which is incredibly likely when you look at how good Westmeath are, that could set them back in the promotion race. So what are we thinking here?
This game is massive. Like, for Westmeath as well, if you're talking about Westmeath are going to play in the All-Ireland Championship, like, they have to be at that level where you can convince them that they can compete with the teams that are in Division 1. So if you're looking at that purely on paper, you're saying then they should beat Down. Like if they're going to compete with the Tyrones and the Donegals and the Monaghans and the Kerrys and the Armaghs, they have to be beaten down. And that's a really tough thing to say. Down, coming fresh off that defeat to Fermanagh in the last minute, Sean Quigley's goal, they're going to be fired up and looking for this. This is going to be a really, really hard game to call. Like it actually is. This is a really hard one to call. I'm going to go Westmeath, narrowly, a point, 2 points.
Yeah, I'm going to go for Westmeath as well. Like I think Down are definitely making progress. I'm not sure they're quite at the level that people think they're at, but I think they definitely are improving. I think there definitely is a case of improvement, but I think Westmeath for me will just be a slight step too far, in my opinion. Although Westmeath can be quite inconsistent themselves in this division, but I am going to go with them to get the 4-point victory. Offaly and Cavan up next in Division 3. Cavan 3 wins from 3 so far. All of their wins have been fairly comprehensive and comfortable. And look, Offaly are a decent side themselves, but like Cavan just look like different gravy. Like at the minute, I mean, if you were to have them in Division 2, they'd probably be up there competing for it. I mean, they're looking very, very strong at the moment.
Yeah, and without Thomas Galligan, like you have to give them massive credit for that. McVitie's comeback has been sensational. They haven't even really used Paddy Lynch as well to the level that I thought they would, and they've just looked smooth. They're getting it right this time under Mickey Graham, and even though as good as Offaly have looked, I'm going to go with Cavan to take this one.
Yeah, I think so as well. Like I think Offaly still probably have some moving parts, and I think for Liam Kearns, like you can see Offaly, they're on the brink of getting there, becoming a side that could be up at the Division 2, but they're just not quite. And I know they're in Division 2 last year, but I think they're on the right track. But there's probably just a couple of injuries, younger lads to settle into the side. So I do agree. I would go with Cavan for the victory as well. Longford and Tipperary, then obviously, I mean, this is a knockout game. Realistically, both sides on 3 defeats from 3. Whoever loses, I think, is definitely gone. I think there's a high case that both of them go down anyway. But you would look at it and think, huge opportunity for either side to get their first win of the season, and in some ways, like this is a knockout game.
No, it is. Yeah, this is losers down. They're knocked it, like both of them. You see, the difference is, I think I was saying it to you on our podcast there last week, was Longford haven't competed in their games. Like the thing is with Antrim is that Antrim had battled in every one of their games. They lost it down by a point. They were competitive against Offaly. Longford have been beaten out the gate in their 3 games, like convincingly, comprehensively beaten. Tipperary, not much better. But you look at how Tipperary's squad has been decimated, how many players aren't there anymore. It's hard to know who's where. Longford, it is a difficult place to go. And for a Tipperary side that are as demoralised as I imagine this one is now, especially after losing Tantrum at home in a game that they would have eyed up as a potential scalp, Longford tend to fight back. So I am going to go with them to just narrowly edge this one. But I wouldn't be surprised if it went either way, because right now I don't back either of these teams in terms of where they're at. I don't think either of them are on the level that they could be right now.
Yeah, like I would go with Longford as well. I think Longford have had 3 very tough games, and I think that you could say that they haven't been good enough in those games. They've been beaten out the gate, convincingly, and really in all 3 occasions. But I would look at Longford, and I think with Paddy Christie coming in, you would expect the work that you've seen in pre-season, that there was a bit of a kick out of them. So I do think we'll see a bit more from Longford, and that's why I'll go with them to get the 2-point victory. Gavin says here, is it almost a guarantee Cavan will get promoted? I think absolutely at this moment in time. Mikey says Cavan will finish higher than Donegal in Division 2 next year. It's a bold statement, but I tell you what,
that is a hot take.
He's not. I don't think he might be wrong.
He might not be wrong at all. Might not be wrong at all.
When you look at when Cavan actually played Donegal last year, I mean, it really wasn't too much between the teams. So it definitely could be onto something there, in my opinion. Looking at the Division 4, so this is the table as we go into the final round of, I suppose, the final division to discuss. Laois on top with 6 points, 3 wins from 3. Leitrim and Sligo locked level there with 4 points. Wicklow, Wexford and Carlow all with 3 points. London with a single point, and Waterford dead last with 3 defeats from 3. Laois versus Wicklow. Laois 3 wins from 3. 4. Are they going to make it 4 here, do you think?
Yeah, I think it's too much of an ask for Wicklow to go and win this one. I know that they had a good win there against London. Wishing McConville's there, the likes of Owen Darcy going from strength to strength, but beating a Laois side that look like they're getting it right under Billy Sheehan, I think is too much of an ask. This Laois side went away to Sligo and beat Sligo by 6 points, so I don't think Wicklow can beat them. I think Laois to win this one.
Yeah, I think Laois look like they've turned a real corner under Billy Sheehan, and I think Paul Kingston's influence back in the side, Evan O'Carroll as well, does seem to be a feel good factor about Laois, and I will go with them. I think they have a little bit more work done ahead of Wicklow at this moment in time. Waterford versus Wexford. Interestingly enough, the last league win for Waterford was actually against Wexford in 2021. But surely Wexford aren't going to... I feel like Wexford are nearly like the Cork version in Division 2, where, they'll have a howler in them every now and again. But, surely it's a massive opportunity for them to be in the promotion race. And surely they're not going to mess this one up.
Yeah, I don't think they are. I think Wexford, for me, to win this one, you think of the form of the likes of Mark Rossiter, 8 points the last day. For me, Wexford take this one. I think Waterford just don't look like they were competitive in stages against Leitrim, and they were competitive in stages against Sligo. But for me, Wexford take this one.
Yeah, absolutely. I'd agree. London going up against Sligo. London obviously at home, so I mean, it's always a tough place to go. You think of when Wexford went there earlier in the season and barely they got a draw, but nearly lost the game. So I mean, you'd look at Sligo and think 2 wins from 2, and surely an opportunity for them to stay in the promotion race. What are we thinking here?
Well, it's as you said on our podcast there, like London are a sticky team to play against. They seem to drag everyone into this kind of tough game where no one seems to beat them by more than 6 points. Like, I mean, I know that they have only been playing the teams at their level, but when's the last time a team put a beating on London? Like, it's not too recent. Like, they always manage to drag a team into a battle, and I think Sligo are going to win, but it won't be by more than 6 points, I don't think.
Yeah, I think so as well. Like, I think
even the Tailteann Cup last year, London took Sligo to extra time.
Yeah, that's what I was about to say. Like, I think when you look through the history of these two sides, like I think it has been very close. And yeah, like I think Sligo maybe by a point, a point or two. Like, I think it's going to be very, very close. But you could see London making this a very tough physical game. But I would go with Sligo to get the win. And last but not least, Leitrim against Carlow. I suppose big opportunity for Leitrim, and as Keane says here, Leitrim to get back to winning ways following a slip up against Wexford last weekend, hopefully, and keep our push for promotion going. Mikey says hope Leitrim will snatch second place from Sligo, but can't sleep on Wexford either. They have a nicer run of fixtures. Like Carlow have 3 points as well, so you certainly can't rule them out of the equation, but this almost feels a bit of a knockout feel as well, where you think that whoever loses this, especially when you look at some of the other fixtures like Sligo playing London, Wexford playing Waterford, you'd look at this and think the winner here keeps in the race. The loser is probably, maybe out of it, you could say at this point.
Yeah, and first I completely agree with both of those comments there from the lads. I am going Leitrim to win this one. I think they're going to bounce back from their defeat to Wexford, which I didn't see coming, to be honest. I thought they did beat Wexford. They're going up against the Carlow side that have only beaten Waterford so far. And for Leitrim, if they want to get promoted, they have to be winning these games. And I'm going to go with them to get the job done here.
Yeah, I think so as well. I think I go with Leitrim to get the victory there as well, especially at home as well. And I do think Andy Moran's made a lot of good work. I think last week was just a bit of a blip in the radar. So, we'll go ahead and wrap this up here. Cheers to anyone who tuned in. Make sure to leave a like, subscribe. Let me know in the comments down below. What do you think will happen in some of these games this weekend? And obviously make sure to check out Seamus's podcast, Play on GEA. Make sure to type that into the YouTube search bar after this podcast. Go over there and subscribe and all the rest. So, cheers, Seamus, for coming on. And cheers, anyone who tuned in.
No worries, Aaron. Thank you.